Another person asked me about making a closed form. So I'm going to see, I've never done this before, and who knows, I could screw it up, but it doesn't matter. I feel very confident that I can turn this into a closed form. So I'm going to do that, and that my hands are going to slide over this. And now I've used the rib on the inside, so I know the inside is fairly dry, so I just want to lubricate that so my hand will slide over that area. And I'm not squeezing a sponge full of water. I'm just running the sponge over it just to get some lubrication. And no advertisement for Sip and Dip, but I'm a caffeine addict. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do to close this. And a lot of times my students get this wrong because they try to go straight in to close it, but it really needs to be more like a point like this. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to gradually pull this closed. I have quite a bit of clay on the lip, which is certainly going to help me. So basically, it's just fingers that are kind of doing the work. And like, my position is going to be my index finger here on the shoulder. My thumbs are going to support each other. My index finger is outside, and I'm using my middle finger and my index finger to kind of close it up. So you can see the shape and the form that I'm working with. I'm not trying to go across because it'll sag and you won't be able to accomplish what you're trying to do. So for me, it's all, I'm thinking engineering, how, you know, the diameter is supporting this and how the weight of that is being supported by that. So I'm going to go back in again, grab some clay. So it's thin. There's no question that I'm kind of like taking every little bit of clay I can off the shoulder to get this where I want it. So I'm going to wet my hands, and I'm going to do this method 1, 2, 3 on each side and just close this a little bit more. Okay, then critical, sponge on a stick, and I love this one because it's telescopic, so I can pull it out to whatever length that I need, and I just want to make sure there's no water on the bottom. And if you notice, a lot of people, if they do this, right, they take their sponge out and they squeeze it in the bucket. There's like, look at how little bit of water. There's people like the whole thing is saturated with water. And all it's doing is it's making the bottom of your pot more wet than the rest of it. And that is what increases your chance of getting S-cracks because it's drying differently. So keep that in mind when you're working. Do not have puddles of water in your piece at any time, anytime. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to try to close this up. So I could do one of two things here. I could pin tool this, make it really nice and even and, you know, make it perfect, or I can just play around with what's happening and just kind of go with the organic shape and stuff that's happening. So I'm just going to take this pin tool, I'm going to cut a little bit off the top. I'm going to bevel this a little bit so that when I close it, there'll be a little bit more contact area. And then I'm just taking 3 little points here. And now I'm closed. Okay, so obviously it's a little irregular. I don't mind that because it's part of the process. The other thing that you can do at this point is I can see that it's this beautiful shape here, and then it kind of has this little dink right here. But because this is full of air, I can go back in and I can modify my shape and do things. So what I want to do now is I want to make this transition here better. Okay, so I'm going to take my rib and I'm going to bend it like so. And I'm just going to kind of push a little bit on here. See the difference? Oh, it's like now the form and the shape is very uniform. It transitions really nice. So it's just, it reminds me of an acorn so much. And now what you could do, I mean, you could take your sludge and all of a sudden this becomes the top, right? It could become a covered jar. You could cut all beautiful shapes and things and then put a candle in there. It might be upside down. Maybe like this thing is really going to be turned around and the axis is completely changed, right? So let's take this off and let's see if we can do something a little bit more traditional. So what I'm going to do at this point I'm just going to work on this a little bit. And see how it sagged a little? That's telling me that, hey, you better be careful because it's thin there. And if you clown around too much, it might collapse. So I'm going to go back in again and see if I can pop that up a little bit. So I'm just going to take my rib, apply a little bit of pressure, and see if I can correct that little dink there. Okay. So that's better. And then if I want this to be like a little bit more uniform or that kind of stuff, if you're into perfection, I'm just going to take my rib, very gently kind of work on that a little bit, just to like straighten it out a little. And again, personally for me, I don't like making things too perfect, okay? So what I would do is I would just take this I would do that, and then let's grab some slip here. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay, and let's grab a little bit from there. So what I'm trying to do here, and again, whether I'm successful or not, I'm just trying to show you things to do. This is the origin. This is where the piece came from. So I don't want this to be perfect because this is kind of like the stem, or it came off the vine or whatever. So I'm just trying to do things just to kind of like make this a little bit more organic. And so if I wanted to, let me grab a little bit of slip out of the bucket. I'm going to grab some, oh sweet, this is nice. So this is from my slop bucket. And then I can take some of this. So see what I'm doing? I'm trying to integrate like this very perfect form with this very organic, irregular stem, just so that, and I love the fact that it's irregular like that. So what I'm going to do now is, you could do one of two things. You could either like play around with where this surface meets that one, and so I'm just going to take my tool and I'm just going to like clear that just a smidgen, so it's a little bit more exact. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit this very quickly. Okay. So we went from a moon jar, and let's do this. I'm going to take a little bit more off the bottom because I know I have a nice narrow bottom. So I'm going to take my sculpture tool and I'm just going to come in here. Cut more away. And then I'm going to hold this up so you can really see. Dry my hands a little bit. This was fun. I loved doing this. The clay was just magnificent. Not one air bubble, not one imperfection in that whole 8 pounds of clay. So look at that profile, right? Now imagine this is probably going to get trimmed maybe that much more, maybe like another inch is going to be tapered in there. And then this is going to be like, it's just like flying off the table, okay? And look at my throwing lines. I intentionally made this smooth, and my throwing lines are here because I'm visualizing when I'm going to glaze, I'm going to have a glaze that's going to accentuate the throwing lines on here, and then I'm going to have maybe a satin glaze with a little bit of flux, so this will drip a little. So I'm always visualizing the pieces kind of finished even when I'm in the throwing process. So hopefully this was helpful. We did a beautiful moon jar form, and then we also made it into a closed form, so we kind of killed two birds with one stone. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please continue to respond to my videos. Let me know what you like, what you want me to demo, and so forth. And we are going to make a whole bunch of videos today. So the next one is going to be this tool that I found while vacationing in Venice. So thank you. I'll see you soon.